For thousands of years, the vault had rested in silence, hidden on the edge of a dead star system where no ship dared to travel. The vault was older than the oldest empire, older than any living memory. It was built from black stone that did not exist in any known world, and it had a single door that no weapon, no tool, and no creature had ever been able to open. Great civilizations had tried. Alien races with technology that could crack planets in half had brought their fleets here, thinking they would claim the treasure inside. But each of them failed. The door did not move. The lock did not break. And after centuries of failure, the galaxy began to whisper that perhaps it was never meant to be opened at all. The vault became a legend, then a curse, and finally a warning. Entire fleets that lingered too long near it never returned. Some said the vault was guarded by something unseen. Others believed the vault itself had a mind, refusing all who approached. In time, even the bravest explorers stayed away. It was called the Door of Eternity. No creature dared challenge it anymore, until a human arrived. Her name was Captain Elara Vey, commander of a small exploration ship from Earth. Humanity was still young in the galactic stage, still considered weak by the older races, still underestimated. But Elara was not the kind who followed warnings. She had heard the stories of the vault since childhood, and to her, they sounded less like a curse and more like a challenge. When she found the coordinates, she set her course without hesitation. Her crew begged her to reconsider. They had heard the same stories, ships that vanished, captains that never returned, voices whispering in the dark when anyone came too close. But Elara only smiled, her eyes sharp and steady. "Every lock has a key," she said. Yet, maybe it is waiting for us." When her ship entered the system, the silence was heavy. The dead star burned weakly, giving off little light, and the vault floated alone among drifting rocks. Its surface was black and perfect, without scratches, without signs of age, as if time itself did not touch it. Her scanners failed the moment. They tried to read its structure, returning only nonsense. The lock was a circle of shifting symbols, glowing faintly with colors no human eye should understand. The crew grew restless. Some swore they saw shadows moving across the ship's walls, though nothing was there. Others said they could hear whispers when they closed their eyes, whispers that sounded like their own voices calling them from the other side of the vault. Fear spread quickly, but Elara remained calm. She stepped down from her ship in a pressurized suit and walked across the broken stone ground toward the vault. Every step echoed too loudly, like the system itself was listening. She stood before the impossible door. The symbols pulsed, as if alive, as if they were watching her. Every other creature that had come before her had tried brute force, technology, or ancient codes. But Elara did not touch her weapons. She placed her bare hand on the lock, her breath steady. The crew watched from the ship, hearts racing. They expected nothing to happen, just as nothing had happened for thousands of years. But the moment her hand touched the surface, the vault shivered. A deep sound like thunder under the ground rolled across the dead world. The symbols shifted, rearranging themselves faster than any eye could follow. The black stone rippled as if it were water, then came the light. It poured from the vault, white and sharp, stretching high into the sky like a beacon. The ground shook, the dead star pulsed, and the entire system seemed to awaken.
Out.
The crew shouted, in terror and awe, and across the galaxy, ancient sensors long forgotten began to flicker to life. Races far away turned their heads in shock as readings filled their screens. The vault had been unlocked, and it was a human who did it. Inside the vault, mechanisms older than galaxies began to turn. Gears of light and sound, machines beyond comprehension, came alive. Something vast was stirring, something that had waited patiently through endless time. And it stirred not because of strength, not because of force, but because of one human touch. Elara felt the air tremble around her, but she did not step back. She whispered to herself, almost smiling, "Every lock has a key." And maybe we were the key all along. The vault door split down the center. Dust that was not dust, but the remains of ages poured out into the air. Slowly, with a sound like a universe groaning, the door opened. Darkness lay beyond, endless and deep, but within that darkness, something moved. Something vast, awake and waiting, and as the door opened wide, the galaxy trembled. The vault door opened wider with every grinding motion, and the sound shook through Alara's bones like a heartbeat too deep to belong to anything living. Crew stood frozen at the ship's viewing glass, staring as the impossible unfolded. The door of eternity, which no empire, no machine, no creature in the galaxy had ever moved, now split apart like it had been waiting only for this moment. A heavy silence fell when the last echo faded. The door hung open, and beyond it there was only shadow. No treasure, no shining machines of power, only blackness that seemed alive. It was not the kind of dark that came from lack of light. It was thicker, older, heavier. Looking into it felt like looking into the deep ocean where no sun had ever reached, and something in that abyss was aware of being seen. Alara did not flinch. I had expected the unknown, and the unknown was why she had come. She stepped forward, each boot pressing against the dustless stone of the vault's threshold. For the briefest moment, the black surface rippled under her foot like water, then stilled. Her crew called her name through the combs, their voices tense, begging her not to enter. But she kept walking, her breath steady, her hand on the hilt. Of her sidearm, though, she did not draw it. Inside, the silence grew deeper. The air was thick, pressing against her suit as if the vault itself was trying to measure her, to understand her. The walls glowed faintly, lines of shifting symbols sliding, like liquid across their surface. They formed patterns, then broke apart again like a language that was alive, but too old for human minds to understand. Alara reached out with her gloved fingers, brushing against one of the glowing marks, and for a heartbeat the symbol froze. Shining brighter, as if it recognized her, the crew gasped from the ship. Instruments screamed warnings, showing readings that broke their machines. Temperatures dropped and rose in impossible waves, gravity shifted, and a pulse spread from the vault into space like a signal. That signal traveled faster than light, rushing across the stars, reaching systems that had long forgotten the vault even existed far away. Alien councils and warlords looked up in alarm. They knew that pulse, it was the call of the door of eternity, something they had hoped to never hear again. Long ago, before recorded history, the vault had been built to contain something that should never be free. They had failed to destroy it, so they locked it instead. Now, to their horror, they realized it had been opened by a human. Alara walked deeper. The vault stretched far beyond what was possible. Its inside was larger than the world outside. Endless corridors, twisting stairways, chambers filled with shapes that seemed half machine, half organic, all sleeping. She felt their silence pressing against her, waiting, watching. The further she went, the more the air hummed with hidden energy, and the more she felt the strange sense that she was not a stranger here. It was as if the vault had been built for someone like her. Her steps slowed when she reached the central chamber. It was vast, a hollow sphere with a floor of smooth black stone. In the center stood a pedestal of white crystal glowing faintly with pale fire. Suspended above the pedestal was an object unlike anything she had ever seen. A cube, simple in shape, but made of shifting light and shadow at once, as if reality itself could not decide what it was. The cube pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Alara stopped. She could feel it calling to her, not with words, but with the deep pull of instinct. She knew without knowing how that this was the heart of the vault. This was what had been locked away. Her crew's voice broke through the combs again, desperate now. "Captain, readings are spiking. Whatever that thing is, it's dangerous. We need to leave." But Alara did not turn back. Her eyes were fixed on the cube. She stepped forward slowly, each breath echoing in her helmet. The closer she came, the stronger the pulse grew. It was not only sound, it was memory. Fragments of visions pressed into her mind, stars being born, stars dying, empires rising and crumbling. Creatures far older than thought itself walking across galaxies. She staggered under the weight of it but forced herself onward. When she reached the pedestal, the cube slowed its pulsing, almost as if it recognized her presence. The symbols on the walls glowed brighter, flowing into a single unified pattern that spiraled around the chamber. The vault was alive now, fully awake, and it was watching this single human who had done what no other being could. Elara hesitated for only a second before she reached out her hand. Her gloved fingers hovered over the cube, trembling. The moment she touched it, the chamber roared with light. The cube dissolved into her palm, sinking into her suit, into her skin, into her very being. She gasped as a flood of knowledge, power, and memory rushed into her veins. Her body shook, her mind burned, but she did not fall. On the ship, alarms screamed. Her crew saw their captain consumed by light, her form outlined in burning white. The vault's pulse exploded outward again, stronger this time, across every corner of the galaxy.
Ow.
World, every empire, every hidden power felt it. The door of eternity was not just open, it had chosen, and it had chosen a human, far beyond. In places where light had not reached in a billion years, things stirred. Forgotten powers opened their eyes. Ancient warnings carved into dying stars whispered again. The galaxy had changed in that moment, and every ruler, every fleet, every empire would soon turn its eyes toward the human who had unlocked the impossible. Inside the chamber, Ilara stood trembling but alive. Her eyes glowed faintly now, reflecting the shifting light of the vault's symbols. She whispered to herself, her voice filled with awe and fear at once. This was never just a vault. It was a prison. And something inside that prison had just been freed. Across the galaxy, the pulse spread like a storm. It was not light, not sound, but something deeper, something that touched every machine, every mind, every hidden relic that had ever known. The vault. Entire civilizations felt it at once. Worlds that had forgotten the name of the door of eternity suddenly remembered. Fear returned to them like an old wound reopening. On the capital world of the Veiled Dominion, the High Lords gathered. In a silent chamber built of crystal and steel, they were an ancient race, tall and graceful, with minds that could bend matter itself. For thousands of years they had ruled with certainty, believing they were the strongest. But when the pulse reached them, their silver eyes darkened. Knew exactly what it meant. One of the lords whispered in a voice filled with dread, "The vault has opened." On the warship worlds of the Kraith, a brutal species of conquerors with bodies like living armor, the signal reached their command throne. Their warlord laughed, a sound like grinding metal, but even in his laughter there was fear. He had studied the legends of the vault since he was a child. "Dares open the prison," he growled to his generals. "Find them. Bring me the key-bearer." On forgotten moons, where priesthoods of strange alien faiths lived in shadows, the signal was taken as prophecy fulfilled. They fell to their knees, chanting old verses that spoke of the small ones who would awaken the great dark. When their visions cleared, they all saw the same thing, a human for humanity. Still new to the galactic stage, the pulse was confusion. On Earth and her colonies, scientists scrambled as instruments screamed warnings. Politicians demanded answers. Soldiers prepared fleets. But none of them understood yet what Ilara had touched, or why the galaxy now turned its eyes on them. Inside the vault, Ilara stood in the glowing chamber, breathing hard. The cube's essence still burned in her like fire in her blood. Felt stronger and heavier at once, as though the weight of something vast had settled inside her. Her crew called her again, their voices trembling. "Captain. What happened to you? Are you still you?" Ilara looked at her reflection in the polished black wall. Her eyes glowed faintly with shifting patterns, symbols moving across them like whispers of light. She clenched her fists and answered softly, "I'm still me. But I'm not only me anymore." The chamber walls shivered as if responding to her words. The symbols aligned into a single spiral and then spread outward, carving themselves into the air like stars forming a map. It was not just a map, it was a path. Ilara's heart pounded as she realized the vault was showing her something, guiding her somewhere beyond this system, somewhere important. But before she could study it further, The ground trembled. Shadows around the chamber thickened, rising like smoke, swirling with voices that did not belong to any creature she knew. Her hand went to her sidearm, but she already understood no weapon would matter here. From the shadows, shapes emerged, tall, faceless figures made of dark mist. Their outlines shifting like broken glass, had no eyes, yet she felt their gaze piercing her. One of them spoke, its voice echoing in her mind instead of her ears. The seal is broken. The prison is undone. You are the chosen key. Elara forced her voice steady. Chosen for what? The shadow tilted its head, and though it had no face, she felt it smile. To free us, or to bind us again. Your kind is weak, yet you were the one to open the gate. That is no accident. The vault knew. The vault always knew. Her crew shouted. In her ear, panic rising. Captain, we're detecting massive energy builds all around you. Get out of there now. But Elara stood her ground. She had come too far to turn away. She pointed at the spiral map glowing above her and demanded, "What is this?" "Ah, where does it lead?" The shadow stretched taller, its voice trembling like a storm. "It leads to the heart of eternity, to the source of what was locked away. The cube inside you is only a fragment. The rest lies waiting. If you claim it, you will hold the power of gods. But know this, human power never comes without cost." The chamber darkened, and the figures sank back into the shadows, their forms melting into the walls as if they had never been. The silence returned, but now it felt sharper. It's like the calm before something worse. Elara lowered her weapon slowly, her breathing ragged. She touched her chest where the cube had entered her. The burning sensation steadied into a quiet pulse, like a second heart inside her. She whispered, almost to herself, "A prison, and a key, and now a path." Outside, her crew could no longer wait. They shouted, "Captain, ships are coming!" Multiple signals dropping out of faster than light. They're converging on this system. We need to go. Lara turned and looked back through the vault's great door. Already distant stars flared. With the arrival of alien fleets, the galaxy had felt the opening, and now it was racing toward her. Every empire wanted what she had touched. Every empire feared what she had unleashed. She clenched her jaw, her voice cold and sharp. "Prepare the ship. We're leaving, but not to run." Her crew hesitated, terrified. Then where? Lara looked once more at the glowing spiral map in the chamber, at the path stretching across unknown stars. Her voice was steady, filled with determination that cut through the fear. To wherever this map leads. Because if we don't find the rest of this, someone else will. And then the whole galaxy will burn. And as the alien fleets closed in, as the vault shuddered with ancient echoes, the first human to unlock the impossible stepped back into her ship. Carrying a secret that would shake every world to its core, the stars outside the vault began to flicker with movement. One after another, dark shapes emerged from faster-than-light jumps. Stretching across the system like predators circling prey, dozens of warships, each carrying the banners of old empires, now pointed their weapons toward the same target, a single, small human vessel parked at the edge of the forbidden vault. Elara watched the signals appear on her display, her jaw tight. The crews of these alien ships had waited centuries for this day, and none of them would let the prize slip away. They all wanted the same thing, the fragment of the vault, now beating inside her chest. Her first officer's voice shook. "Captain, they're hailing us. All of them. Different languages, different demands. Some are threatening, some are offering bargains. They all know it was you." Elara closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of her decision pressing. On her shoulders, she had unlocked something that no being in the galaxy had ever touched, and now she was the center of a storm. She opened her eyes again, her voice steady. Patch 1 through. The screen flickered to life, revealing the face of a Veil Lord. His skin glowed like pale crystal, his silver eyes unblinking, his voice calm yet sharp as glass. "Human," he said, "you have touched what was never meant to be touched. Give us the fragment, and perhaps your kind will be spared." Before Elara could answer, another signal forced its way onto the channel. Kraith Warlord, massive and armored like a walking fortress, snarled into the feed. No bargains. The key belongs to the strong. Hand it over, or I will break your bones and tear it from your flesh. More voices followed, overlapping, demanding, threatening, promising. It was chaos, a storm of powerful civilizations all fighting with words before they fought with fire. Her crew panicked, their fear spilling through every channel. But Alara raised her hand, silencing them. Her voice cut through the noise. I, Captain LRV of Earth, I am not giving this to any of you. I didn't come here to bargain, or to kneel. I came here to find the truth of what's inside this vault. If that means I've made enemies of every empire in this galaxy, then so be it. The silence that followed was heavier than any weapon. Then, almost as one, the fleets armed their weapons. The sky lit up with energy signatures, every ship preparing for war. Her crew's voices cracked with fear. Captain, we can't fight them all. Won't survive a single hit from those guns. Illyra's hands gripped the controls, her eyes fixed on the spiral map still glowing faintly on her display. We're not staying to fight. We're going to run the path the vault gave us. Ready the engines. But before the human ship could move, the vault itself reacted. Its black surface rippled, its symbols flared, and a wave of energy burst outward. It was not a weapon, not exactly, but it struck every alien ship at once. Its systems flickered, shields collapsed, weapons powered down. Entire fleets were left blind for a few seconds, caught in the vault's sudden cry. Illyra didn't hesitate. Now punch it. The small human vessel roared to life, tearing through space at full speed. Behind them, the alien fleets recovered, chasing like wolves after a wounded prey. Beams of light ripped across the void, explosions tearing through asteroids as the battle erupted. Hundreds of ships fired at once, and in the middle of it, one tiny ship carried the key to everything. Inside, the crew worked desperately, their hands flying across controls, alarms screaming in their ears. The ship shook with every near miss, but Illyra's eyes stayed locked forward. She felt the cube inside her pulsing, guiding her like a compass. She didn't need coordinates anymore. The path burned inside her mind. A Kraith battleship closed in from behind, its massive cannons charging. At the last second, the cube inside Illyra reacted, sending a burst of strange energy through the ship's systems. Their small vessel twisted space itself, bending away from the shot in an impossible maneuver. Her crew gasped, staring at her in shock. Captain, that wasn't our ship. That was you. Illyra's knuckles were white around the controls. No, that was the cube. It's protecting us. But for how long? I don't know. Outside, the battle grew. The Veil unleashed fleets of drones. The Kraith smashed through rivals with brutal force, and other empires joined the chaos, all firing on each other while still chasing her. The system became a war zone. But the focus of every ship remained the same, the human who had unlocked the impossible. Finally, the cube's pulse grew stronger, and Illyra saw the map shift in her mind. A point in space glowed brighter than the rest, a hidden doorway through the stars, she shouted there. Aim everything we have at those coordinates. The ship lurched, engines burning hot, racing toward the invisible point. Beams tore past them, one strike clipping their side and sending the crew sprawling. Alarms blared, smoke filled the cabin, but the engines held. The coordinates loomed closer, and then reality itself cracked. Before them, space split open like a wound. A tunnel of blinding light yawned wide, swirling with colors that no human eye had ever seen. It was not a normal jump point. It was something older, something built into the fabric of the galaxy itself. The cube pulsed in her chest, urging her forward. Her crew shouted, half in awe, half in terror, Captain, that's not a safe gate. We don't know where it leads. Illyra's voice was calm, even as the ship shook under the fire of pursuing fleets. Neither did they when they built it. But this is the path the vault gave us, and if it leads to the heart of eternity, then we're going through. With alien weapons lighting the void behind them, with entire empires closing in, Illyra drove her ship straight into the crack in space. The light swallowed them whole, and in an instant, the human vessel vanished. The pursuing fleet screamed too late, their shots striking only the empty void. The wound in space sealed shut, leaving nothing behind but silence and the echo of what had just begun. In the heart of the vault, the shadows whispered to themselves, their voices soft and hungry. The key has chosen her. The path has been opened. Now the galaxy will bleed. And across countless worlds, rulers and warlords stared into the stars, knowing that a human had just escaped them all, and was heading somewhere no creature had ever dared to go. The human ship was swallowed by light, spinning through a tunnel of impossible colors. The crew clung to their stations, their bodies pressed down by strange gravity waves. It felt like falling and flying at the same time. Like every star in the universe was watching them. Alarms blared, but Alara's hands never left the controls. The cube inside her chest pulsed calmly, guiding them through the storm. At last, with a thunder that rattled their bones, the ship burst out of the tunnel and into stillness. Space returned, but not the space they knew. The stars were different, colder, sharper, glowing with hues no human chart had ever recorded. The system before them was unlike anything seen in living memory. At its center was a giant structure. Not a planet, not a star, but something built, something colossal, stretching across half the system. It looked like a wheel of black stone and burning light, floating in the void. Its arms were broken in places, shattered by ancient battles. But even ruined, it pulsed with energy strong enough to hum through their ship's hull. The crew stared in silence, fear momentarily forgotten. One whispered, "What? What is that?" Ilara's eyes were locked on the structure, her heart pounding with both dread and awe. She already knew the answer, though no one had ever spoken it. "The heart of eternity," she said softly. The cube inside her chest throbbed brighter, confirming her words. It wanted her to be here. It had led her across the stars to this place. They approached slowly, their small ship dwarfed by the immensity of the structure. As they drew closer, they saw that the wheel was not solid stone, but a lattice of corridors, towers, and massive rings. Some parts glowed with life, while others were cold and dead, drifting in silence. Entire fleets could fit inside its halls. Entire civilizations could vanish within its walls. The crew's voices returned, fearful again. "Captain, if this was hidden for so long, then it wasn't meant to be found. Maybe we should turn back before it's too late." Lara shook her head. "It's already too late. The vault wanted us here. If we don't learn what this is, someone else will, and then we'll have no chance to stop them." The ship glided toward a broken gate at the edge of the structure. As they neared, the gate lit up, glowing with pale symbols, the same shifting marks that had filled the vault. For thousands of years, no ship had entered here. Yet for Alara, the path opened willingly. They passed through the gate into a vast chamber, larger than cities. Black walls rose into infinity, lit by rivers of white fire that flowed like liquid stars. Giant machines, taller than mountains, hung silent in the dark, their purpose forgotten. The cube inside Alara pulsed faster, beating in rhythm with the chamber's lights. Suddenly, the ship powered down on its own. Engines went dark, controls froze, lights dimmed, panic erupted on the bridge. "We've lost everything. The systems are dead?" But Alara stayed calm. She placed her hand on her chest, feeling the cube's warmth spread into her skin. A voice not spoken, not heard, but felt whispered through her mind. "Chosen, you have returned." Her vision blurred. She was no longer on the ship. She stood in an endless void, face to face with a figure of pure light. Its form shifted constantly, sometimes human, sometimes alien, sometimes shapes no mind could understand. The figure spoke, its voice carrying the weight of eternity. "We built this heart when the stars were still young. It was not meant for any one race. It was meant for guardians. But the guardians fell. Their greed shattered the galaxy, and the heart was locked away. Do you know what you have done, human?" Ilara steadied her breath. "I opened the vault. Yes. You opened what no creature could. Do you know why? Because you are small, because your kind is not yet drowned in its own arrogance. the heart. Saw in you what it once saw in its first guardians, the spark to protect, not to consume. Illyra's fists tightened. And if I fail? The figure's light flared. Then the prison will break fully, and what lies within will not be stopped. The galaxy will not tremble, it will burn. The vision ended. Illyra gasped as she returned to the bridge. The crew was staring at her, waiting, their fear plain. She stood tall, though her heart raced. The heart of eternity is a weapon. And a prison. It was never meant to be opened. But now it's awake, and we're part of it. Before her words could sink in, the ship's sensors flickered back to life. Alarms screamed as dozens of signals appeared behind them. Alien fleets Graith, Vale, and more had followed them through the hidden crack in space. The enemies had arrived, their ships surrounding the system like vultures closing on a corpse. One officer's voice broke in panic. "Captain, they've found us. We're trapped." Illyra's eyes turned toward the glowing core at the center of the colossal structure. The cube inside her chest pulsed harder, louder, as if begging her to act. She clenched her jaw.
No!
We're not trapped. We're exactly where we need to be. Outside, alien fleets armed their weapons. Inside, the ancient heart began to stir after countless ages of silence. And in the middle of it all, a single human stood at the center of a storm that would decide the fate of the galaxy. The black void outside the heart of eternity lit up with hundreds of warships. The Kraith destroyers came first, their armored, hulls shining red from the light of their engines, their cannons already heating to fire. The Vale cruisers followed, graceful and deadly, releasing swarms of silver drones that spread like a cloud across space. Behind them came dozens of smaller fleet straighters, scavengers, warlords, all drawn to the same prize. Every eye was fixed on the human vessel now drifting at the edge of the ancient structure. Inside the bridge, the crew's faces were pale. No human ship had ever faced such numbers. The officers whispered fearfully, knowing that in seconds they would be reduced to debris, but Illyra did not look afraid. She stood at the front of the bridge, her eyes fixed on the glowing core of the heart, listening to the pulse of the cube inside her chest. A hail came through. The face of the Kraith warlord filled the screen, his jagged teeth bared in a cruel grin. "Human," he growled. "You are surrounded. You hold what belongs to us all. Hand it over, and perhaps I will let your bones remain whole." The screen split, showing the Vale Lord's calm, crystalline face. His silver eyes gleamed cold. "Ignore the brute," he said smoothly. "Human, you cannot hope to control the heart. Give it to us, and your people will be allowed to live. Refuse, and you will condemn not just yourself, but your entire species." The crew turned to Illyra, waiting for her to answer. She stood in silence for a long moment, then spoke in a voice firm and sharp. "You think I opened the vault to hand it over? You've all had your chance for thousands of years, and none of you were worthy. If this heart chose me, then I'll see it through. Come and take it if you dare." The alien warlords sneered, and then the battle began. The void erupted in fire. Beams of light and plasma lances shot across the system, colliding against shields and tearing through ships. The heart of eternity's dark surface reflected the chaos like a mirror. Glowing brighter as if feeding on the war outside, Illyra's small ship dived between the massive fleets. Twisting desperately to avoid the storm, drones swarmed after them, hundreds of silver machines slicing through the void. The ship's guns spat fire, breaking apart a few, but the swarm kept closing. "Captain, we can't hold them off," one officer shouted. Illyra's hand pressed against her chest. The cube's pulse grew faster, heavier, filling her mind with light. For an instant, she saw the battle differently. Every path, every ship, every weapon burned in her vision, like threads of possibility. She raised her hand, and the cube responded. Outside, the swarm of drones froze in mid-flight. Then, with a single pulse of light, they turned on each other, crashing and tearing themselves apart in a frenzy. The crew gasped, staring at Illyra. "Captain, what did you just do?" Her breath shook, but her voice was steady. "The cube. It can bend their systems. It's showing me how. But every time I use it, it takes something from me. The battle raged on. Kraith warships rammed through enemy lines, their brutal cannons smashing anything in their path. Veil cruisers danced like silver blades, cutting ships apart with precise strikes. Smaller factions tore at each other, desperate to grab any piece of advantage. And through it all, the human vessel weaved like a shadow, surviving against all odds. But the enemy fleets were not blind. They saw the drones fall under Illyra's command, and they realized the truth. The cube had bonded with her. She was no longer just a captain. She was the heart's chosen, and that made her the most dangerous being in the galaxy. A dozen ships broke away from the chaos, converging on her position, their weapons charged, their commanders roaring for her capture. The human crew cried out as alarms blared. "They're locking on, Captain. We can't escape this." Illyra closed her eyes. The cube burned like fire in her veins, showing her one last vision. She saw the heart of eternity itself, still silent, still asleep. She saw its vast engines, its broken rings, its weapons lying dormant. She understood now this battle was not just around the heart. The heart was the battlefield. Her eyes snapped open, glowing with faint light. She shouted, "Hold on to something." She slammed her hand onto the console, and the cube's energy surged through her body, through the ship, and into the structure itself. The heart of eternity awakened. The broken rings around the core shuddered and lit up with rivers of white fire. Ancient weapons, older than every empire in the galaxy, came alive. Beams of light the size of cities lanced outward, cutting through fleets like paper. Dozens of alien warships were torn apart in seconds. Explosions shook the void, shockwaves ripping across the system. The crew held on, eyes wide with terror and awe. The heart itself had become a weapon under their captain's command. But Illyra staggered, gripping the console as her body shook violently. Blood ran from her nose, her eyes burning brighter. The cube's power was immense, but it was not meant for a single human body to carry. Her crew rushed to her side, begging her to stop. She raised her head, her voice hoarse but unbroken. "If we stop now, they'll take it. If they take it, the galaxy ends. We hold them here, or no one survives." Outside, the alien fleets recoiled in horror. For the first time, they understood the truth. The human was not just holding the key. She had become the weapon itself, and as the heart of eternity roared back to life, the galaxy realized it was no longer trembling. It was breaking. The battlefield was silent now, except for the echoes of burning wreckage drifting in space. Where once hundreds of ships had surrounded the heart of eternity, now only fragments and fire remained. Whole fleets had been torn apart by the ancient weapon. The colossal rings of the heart still glowed faintly, the rivers of white fire slowly dimming back to silence. Illyra stood on the bridge, her hand pressed against the console, her chest heaving. Her body trembled from the strain, her veins burning with the cube's power. Blood streaked her lips, her eyes still glowing faintly like dying stars. Around her, the crew stared in silence, their faces pale, unable to understand what they had just survived. Finally, one officer whispered, his voice broken, "Captain, you did it. You destroyed them." But Illyra shook her head. "No, I didn't destroy them all. Some escaped. It was true." On the edge of the system, a few alien warships limped away, their engines sparking, their hulls torn apart but still alive. They fled into faster-than-light jumps, carrying with them the story of what they had seen. And that story would spread like wildfire. The human ship was quiet, its systems barely holding together after the chaos. Smoke filled the corridors, sparks jumped from damaged panels, and the crew moved slowly, exhausted and afraid. They had won a battle, but the war had only just begun. Illyra leaned against her chair, her voice soft but steady. "The galaxy knows now. They've seen what the heart can do. They've seen a human control it. They won't stop. They'll all come back, stronger, united." Her crew exchanged uneasy glances. They were soldiers, explorers, engineers, but none of them had ever imagined becoming the focus of every empire's fury. One of them finally spoke, his voice shaking. "Captain, what if we can't stop them next time?" Illyra looked at the glowing core of the heart, still humming faintly outside their windows. She thought of the vision she had seen, of the figure, of light that told her the heart was a prison as well as a weapon. Her jaw tightened. Then we have to do more than stop them. We have to understand what this place really is. If it was built as a prison, then whatever it holds is worse than all their fleets combined. If it gets out, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. The crew fell silent again. Outside, the heart of eternity pulsed once, like a sleeping giant stirring in its dreams. Far across the galaxy, the survivors of the battle reached their homeworlds. The Kraith warlord returned, his armor scorched, his pride broken, but his rage burning hotter than ever. He stood before his generals and declared, "The human has stolen power that belongs to us all. She has awakened a god machine. Gather every fleet, every soldier, every weapon. We march on the heart." In the crystal towers of the Veiled Dominion, the High Lords whispered to each other with voices like glass breaking. They had seen the heart's fire tear through their ships, and they knew that brute force alone would not win. "The human cannot hold such power for long," one lord murmured. "The cube will consume her. We must not destroy her. We must take her alive." And in the hidden temples of forgotten moons, the priests fell to their knees in fear and ecstasy. Their prophecies had spoken of the small ones who would awaken the prison, and now those prophecies were fulfilled. They lit fires that had not burned in centuries, chanting that the end had begun, and that the chosen key had arrived. Back aboard her ship, Alara listened to the silence of the crew. She could feel their fear. She shared it. The cube inside her chest pulsed again, heavier now, like a weight she could no longer ignore. She walked away from the command chair and stepped into her private cabin. Locking the door behind her, alone, she leaned against the wall and pressed her hand over her heart. The cube's warmth spread through her body, and once again visions filled her mind. This time, they were darker. She saw chains of light breaking, doors collapsing, shadows pouring into galaxies. She saw stars going dark, one by one. And she heard a voice, the same voice of light that had spoken before, but now filled with sorrow. "You have awakened what?" "We sealed. The key will open every lock. But once all locks are broken, there'll be nothing left to save." Alara fell to her knees, gasping for breath. She understood now. The cube was not just a key, it was a beginning. Every time she used it, the prison grew weaker. And when the last barrier broke, something far worse than warlords or empires would rise. Her cum beeped, pulling her back to the present. Her first officer's voice came through, strained but steady. "Captain, we've repaired enough to move again. But where do we go? We can't stay here. I'll be back with more fleets." Alara wiped the blood from her lips and rose slowly. Her voice was quiet but sharp, cutting through the fear in the room. "We follow the map. The heart showed me a path, and it's not finished yet. If there are more fragments like this cube, we need to find them before anyone else does. Only then will we know how to stop what's coming." Her officer hesitated. "And if finding them wakes something even worse." Alara stared out the window at the broken rings of the heart, glowing faintly against the dark. Her voice was steady, but her eyes carried the weight of everything she had seen. "Then we'll face it, because if we don't, no one else will." The engines roared weakly to life. The human ship turned away from the ruins of battle, following the faint spiral of light still etched into Elara's mind. Behind them, the heart of eternity pulsed once more, as if it knew its time was coming. And across the galaxy, fleets gathered, councils plotted, and old prophecies whispered louder than ever. The war for the heart had only just begun. The galaxy gathered. Across the stars, fleets the size of whole worlds converged on one place, the heart of eternity. The Kraith warlords brought their armored legions, filling space with red fire. The Veiled Dominion arrived with their silver blades of war, each ship gleaming like a shard of crystal. Even the smaller empires, scavengers, and forgotten tribes came, drawn by the promise of ultimate power. And at the center of it all drifted one human vessel, scarred and weary. Carrying a single woman who had changed everything, Alara stood at the window of the bridge, watching the storm grow. Her eyes were dark with exhaustion, her veins still faintly glowing from the cube inside her chest. She could feel the prison weakening. Every second, every breath, another lock somewhere in the vast structure broke apart. Whatever was inside was clawing to be free. Her first officer whispered behind her, his voice heavy with fear. "Captain, there's no way we can stand against them all. Every empire is here. Even if the heart fires again, it won't be enough." Ilara's jaw tightened. She knew he was right. The heart had power beyond imagination, but it was not endless. And using it meant breaking the prison faster. She used it again at full strength. The last of the seals would collapse. The screen lit up. Dozens of alien leaders appeared, their voices overlapping, their demands the same. "Hand over the cube. Give us the heart. Human. Your kind is weak. You cannot hold it." Ilara let them rage, their threats echoing across the bridge. Then she spoke, her voice calm, steady, sharper than all of theirs. "You don't understand. This heart isn't a weapon. It's a cage. Something is inside it, and if it breaks free, there will be no galaxy left for you to rule." Laughter rolled from the alien commanders. The Kraith warlord snarled, his teeth gleaming. "Lies. You only fear to share power. We will tear it from you." The Veil Lord's silver face flickered on screen. His tone was cold, certain. "Whether weapon or prison, it does not matter. What matters is that we control it, not you." The cut. Engines roared. Thousands of ships began to close in. The bridge shuddered as the first barrage struck. Shields screamed, panels burst into sparks, and alarms filled the air. The crew moved in chaos, struggling to keep the ship alive, but Ilara stood unmoving, her hand pressed to her chest. The cube burned, showing her visions again, snapping, doors opening, darkness spilling into the stars. Her choice was clear. She turned to her crew. "Get to the escape pods." The officers froze, staring at her in shock. "Captain, no, not without you." Her voice was fierce now, commanding. "That's an order. If I stay, maybe I can hold them long enough. If you stay, you'll all die for nothing." Go one by one, their faces broke with tears, but they obeyed. They trusted her too much to argue. The crew ran, filling the corridors with the sound of desperate footsteps. Soon, the ship was nearly empty, leaving only Ilara alone on the bridge. Outside, fleets pressed closer, weapons charged, ready to end the human who had defied them all. Ilara closed her eyes and let the cube fully awaken. Her body convulsed as light poured from her veins, spreading across the ship, fusing her mind with the heart itself. The broken rings around the ancient structure blazed to life again, brighter than before, shaking the void with their fire. Entire fleets froze, blinded by the sudden storm of light. Then the chains broke. The heart shuddered as if struck by 1,000,000,000 storms at once. Cracks of dark energy tore across its surface. From the glowing rings, shadows poured, vast and endless, like liquid night spilling into the galaxy. The prison was breaking, and what it held was escaping. The alien fleets panicked. Ships turned to flee, their formations collapsing. The Kraith screamed in terror. The veil broke their cold silence. And even the smallest factions realized the truth. This was no weapon to claim. This was the end of everything. Ilara's mind was drowning in the visions of the cube. She saw the shadows stretching across galaxies, swallowing stars, devouring worlds. She saw her people's Earth, small and fragile, standing no chance against the tide. She felt the weight of billions of lives pressing against her, waiting for her choice, and in that moment she made it. Her voice whispered into the void. "If no one else can hold it, then I will, no matter the cost." She reached deeper into the cube than ever before. Her body broke under the strain, blood spilling from her mouth, her skin burning with light, but her will did not break. She pushed everything she was, every memory, every heartbeat, every breath into the heart. The structure roared. The cracks sealed. The shadows froze mid-flight, screaming without sound before being dragged back into the core. The chains of light reformed, tighter than before. The prison locked again, and Ilara was gone. The human ship went dark, drifting lifeless in the silence. On the bridge, her body was no longer there. Only a faint glow remained, pulsing inside the console, as if her soul had become part of the heart itself. Across the battlefield, the fleets stopped firing. They stared in shock as the prison closed. Once more, not destroyed, not unleashed, but sealed by the will of one fragile being. The alien leaders could not speak. They had seen something no creature had ever done. Human had not only opened the heart, they had become it. Slowly, the fleets began to retreat. No one dared fire again. The warlords, the dominions, the scavengers all carried the same story back to their people, that a single human had stood against them all, and in the end had saved the galaxy from something worse than death. Years later, whispers would spread. Some said the heart still pulsed faintly, as if listening. Some claimed that if you stood close enough, you could hear a voice, steady and fierce, echoing in the fire, "If no one else will, humanity will." And across the stars the galaxy trembled, still not in fear of the heart itself, but in fear and awe of the species that had claimed it.